but
That's tiny.
I can't afford to feed them.
70.
No,
You've
that's-
got what? 78 what?
My army in Bannerlord.
Oh right, is that the new game?
Yes.
Mount that everybody's playing.
Mountain Blade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mountain Blade.
Yeah.
I normally
keep
stick around
50.
30, 40.
I'm around 50 at the moment, and that's great for my caravans. So
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, hello and welcome
Oh.
to everyone. Welcome to Saturday night at the movies. Oh yeah, your webcam looks miles better now, Hazra.
thank you.
It looks miles, yeah.
Is it because I'm not in it?
You're slightly well. Shh. Shh. Yes, we're all self-isolate. Well, we're not. We're all staying at home. Please be aware that we are currently at least 2 meters apart from each other. There's nobody in the same room as us. Mr. Pickles, what must you do social distancing as well at the moment?
I think it's advised, and I'm doing it.
Cool. Yeah, that's really good. I think Hazra, you've imposed it with your wife and yourself, haven't you? It's just
Yeah, she's living in a shed.
yeah,
It's great.
just to be on the safe
Yeah,
side.
safe side. I have a big 2 meter long stick with a point on the end. It's good.
I was looking at Sainsbury's, which is a company over here, a bit like Walmart, Mr. Pickles. All things like Tesco's and that are bringing out adverts, but only 2 meters is 2 trolleys. You know, so you have
Or
to...
just 2 tape lines, because all the supermarkets have got tape lines
Yeah,
down
but
the aisles now.
I'm always
And then you
worried.
get stared at when you're when you go near to someone. It's like that little sort of like jig where you go, I want to go this way, you want to go that way, but
Do you want to know? And I'm always there, looking at which bananas they touched before, because I want to buy loose bananas, and I'm thinking, okay, which one did that one touch? And I watched How to Clean Your House with the Coronavirus. Do you know? And honestly, everything got, but light switches are a real source, and I never touch my light switches.
All my customers clean all their knobs and knockers. It's great. And some clean their flaps. So I'm happy about that.
Because
sorry.
because I just tell Alexa to turn them off.
oh, I thought you had a clapper.
No.
No, Lisa's really good. She goes shopping first thing in the morning, and she gets there with the lanyard, and she goes, "I'm allowed in here early."
Of course.
She's a proper frontliner.
She's a proper frontliner, yeah. And there's a well done to all the posties as well.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, well done.
And also to dustbin
Yes.
people, refuse collectors, because they never get a shout out. And what we've done in our cul-de-sac, we've all stuck on our recycling bin and our proper bins. Thank you very much. So
That's
when
really cool.
when they come to take the things, because nobody ever thanks them, and they're still out and about, aren't they?
Yeah, totally agree. We thank ours, and it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to be turning into a postman in a couple of weeks' time.
Are you really?
Yeah, I've got to go and pick up my work's post from the post point in the office. So I've got
Good
to
luck.
walk. I've got to walk across town
I
to the
could-
big building, walk down into the basement, pick up the post, walk up 3 flights of stairs, and then
Oh my God.
handle
no.
like 100 letters.
You're gonna die.
People's
100 letters. How nice is that?
I went
Oh,
to
I'd kill for 100.
yeah. I
So if
went.
you've got any tips, Medivac, let me know, please.
Yeah.
Well,
don't do
you
it.
take the bundle.
Them all in your garage. Pretend that
Yeah,
you
take
Yes.
the bundle,
do
split them
that.
in half, bin half of them, and then just deliver the other.
Well, no, the thing is, I'm going to be the only one. I've got to open everything, scan everything in, email it to everyone, and then put everything into another envelope, and then put it all in the in trace, and then go home
Good
and carry on
grief.
with my working from home. So I
To be
might just
fair-
go in and say,
No post.
bin, no post.
No, just say there was no point post.
No-
and then
no
that'd
post.
be it.
To be fair, if it wasn't for Carol Baskin, this would never have happened. And maybe only Mr. Pickles will get that. Oh, there we go.
Oh, he's got it.
I don't get it.
Carol Baskin, that.
The
It's
Tiger
a-
King documentary. I haven't seen it, but my wife watched it because she likes documentaries, and I don't like bad things happening to real people.
Do you want to know? I can't watch films that are real life. So things like I've never seen the Titanic because loads
That's
of
not real
people.
life.
No, yeah, loads of people died on that Titanic, and and what's the other one? I always get Private Benjamin and Private Ryan mixed up.
Saving Private Ryan.
What one's got Goldie Hawn in?
One's really good, the other one's really long.
So I always get those. And what's the other one? Pearl Harbor. I can't watch.
Yeah. God, Ben Affleck.
Dunkirk. I mean, I
I
couldn't
don't know
watch.
why you'd want to.
No, exactly.
It seems upsetting because it's real and people died in
I
that
know.
situation.
So I'm with you there, Mr. Pickles. I'm with you.
So,
Anyway,
so you're just sticking with Balamori.
yeah.
What's the story? I'd like to know.
I do like the new Treadstone Treadstone.
Treadstone, yeah.
Yes, on
I think
Prime.
I've watched that now.
I tried to watch Hustlers or something, but got bored with that and turned that off. And what was the other one that I tried to watch but got bored of? I didn't like Picard, if anybody started to watch
Oh
Picard.
my God, it's brilliant apart from the last one.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that sentiment.
I watched the first one, got totally bored and never got to the second
Really?
one.
I managed to get to the second one and fell asleep during that.
I know. It's
I
a sort
enjoyed
of-
it. Like,
They are
say,
not
part-
true Trek fans.
I've got
No, they're
this.
not.
I've got on my
7
web
of 9.
on my store, Redeem store. It says "Tell a Joker." There's a wonderful GIF of Data and her daughter. Is that right?
Yeah.
And Wesley throws a ball at her, and it goes past. And then 2 seconds later, she goes. Anyway,
Shut up, Wesley.
Anyway, welcome everyone. Welcome to this week's new adventure. We have a new adventure starting today, which is super exciting. I tried to match adventures to focus on different characters. So last week, the last adventures, the Great Boar Hunt, focused on Hengist and his interaction with the nobility of Lindo, with his retainers and the exploits of the nobility and what they got up to. And we had a one focused on Bartleby not so long ago when we went into the slums, and we spent a lot of time in the slums, and he hired ruffians and things like that, which was and tonight it's going to be Gulliver's turn. I've created it completely around Gulliver, so it'll be really interesting how the evening goes. But we're going to do experience rolls first, people, and then we'll go do introductions, experience rolls, then the adventure. Okay, so we will crack on with that. And before we go any further, I'll allow the players an opportunity to say who they are and who they will be playing tonight. And we start, as ever, with Mr. Chuckwalker.
I will be playing Gulliver. He's an apprentice sorcerer. He's in the Order of the Kraken, which is the blue order, the order that specializes in spells evolving around communication, transportation, and teleportation. As a sorcerer, he has the ability to shape his spells to how he sees fit. He can change various aspects of them, including things like the range, the power, the number of targets that it can affect, or he can even combine several spell castings into a single cast. He also has various low-level spells. He refers to them as his cantrips, although they're based on the folk magic school of Mythras, which are quicker to cast, but they're a lot less powerful. And I shall pass on to Longshanks.
Thank you very much, Chuckwalker. Hi guys, my name's Longshanks EPG, and tonight, as always, I'm playing the character Hengist. Hengist is a noble warrior from across the sea who fights with either a sword and shield combo or a two-handed sword combo. Fights in heavy armor, is embroidered. I can't speak. Has the noble crest of his house from across the land on it, which is a green field and a white rearing horse. And he is now probably regretting what happened last week, but he's part of the noble house Galot from Lindo. But certain events happened, and we'll see what fallout happens because of that. And I'll pass it over to Mr. Pickles because Medivac's turned around.
I am Mr. Pickles, and I play our theist in this group, Bartleby Fumus. You guys might have heard of him before. He serves the Church of Amriel, who is the Light Moon Goddess. Through her, he's able to perform miracles, mostly to heal people, help people, give protection, remove disease and poison, repair items. He has miracles, and he also has folk magic, which he calls his prayers. He kind of considers them the same, even though they're, as Chuggawaga said, they're less powerful. He is also our group's historian and person who's most knowledgeable about monsters of this land, since he's a local. He's obsessed with goblins, but he knows of other monsters. Generally our healer, our naive, cowardly, do-gooder person who wants to help but can't really hurt a fly with his little club. Anyways, we're going to pass it on to Medivac.
Well, thank you. Sorry, I was telling my birds to be quiet because one's having an argument with a bell. I'm Medivac and I play Hadric Khan. He's a nomad. He is the group's scout, tracker, combat, stealthy person. He is completely at home in the wilderness. He loves being at one with the trees. He absolutely hates being inside cities. He thinks they are a den of iniquity and villainy. No, he doesn't like those. It's too enclosed. He gets a very claustrophobic there, but he does bear with it for the sake of his friends, this motley crew who he has grown to love. He is... Yeah, he's an outdoor cook. He's survival. He tracks. He does everything in that sort of outdoory world. And with that, I shall pass on to Im Wills.
Thank you very much. And so, first thing that we're going to get our heads around and organise our experience rolls from last time. So anybody who's watching this stream for the first time, the Mythras rule set does not have levels. At the end of every adventure, you get a number of skill rolls that you can use in a variety of ways. You can learn new skills or new spells, or you can increase your characteristics, or you can increase your skills. And each time the players have a complete option of what they want to do. They had the experience points last week, so they are hopefully ready now to sort of like roll dice and tell me where they want to distribute those skill rolls to. Hengist has roughly half of everybody else because his charisma is, or intelligence, which one is it?
It's charisma.
Charisma is quite low, and so he only gets, because of the low charisma, he only gets half the number of experience points rolls than anybody else does. But he makes up for it being extremely strong and being able to wear armor. Well, Bartleby and Gulliver, who have probably high charismas, if they put on armor, then strong armor, heavy iron armor, then they probably wouldn't be able to walk. Full stop. So the deal is as follows. The players will tell me which skills they wish to improve. They then roll a 1d100, add on their intelligence, and as long as they get their skill or above on the dice roll, then their skill will increase by 1d4 plus 1 percentage. If they don't get above the dice, the skill or above on their roll, then the skill still improves, but it just improves by 1%. Obviously, as skill levels get closer and closer to 100, it is more and more difficult to actually up those skills. The other important thing to remember is that if they do have a skill that's over 100, they can then actually use it to as a negative modifier to the person. So if somebody is fighting with a sword of 120% and I'm trying to defend with 30%, then what the character does is take their 20%, which is above 100, and my defense, instead of being 30%, would then be 10%. So a really good swordsman can actually, defeat poor swordsmen straight off the bat, and then that's it. Okay, the other thing that you get, remember players, to get experience rolls for is that if you had any fumbles that you kept, okay, you have to have kept them. If you fumbled and then re-rolled with a point of luck, then you do not get the 1 point. Okay, it's only the fumbles that you actually accept and say, yes, that was a fumble. If they fumble, so a fumble is normally on a score of 99 or 100, then they automatically get a 1 point increase off the bat, free for anything, and then that's it. Okay, then, and so we're going to come first to Gulliver. How would you like to use your experience rolls?
I'm saving them. I'm not spending any of the 10 that I got.
You're not... none at all? A
None.
whole 10?
Yeah.
So no new spells?
No new spells at this time.
Right, okay then. Bartleby, we'll go on to you. How would you
I
like
would
to...
like to buy a miracle and one roll in 5 different skills. For my 10.
Fantastic. So your miracle, I think, costs you 5.
Yeah.
5. So is the miracle the one that you popped up earlier?
No, I already have that.
Oh,
that
yeah,
one.
that's what I thought, yeah.
But among other characters, Bartleby had some regrets from last adventure, particularly Archie falling under terrible circumstances and breaking his neck and dying with a
dying,
sad fate.
yes.
So Bartleby wanted to finally get the lay to rest miracle,
Oh.
so that he can maybe offer something to Archie, and in the future make it so we don't have horrible things happen.
Yeah, that sounds really nice, and I think this has been often on the spell list for some time, but it really sort of like preserves yourself as a priest, a theist. So this miracle is used to ensure that the soul of a recently killed person or creature reaches a deserving afterlife. Its primary purpose is to prevent angry, possibly coerced victims returning from death as vengeful spirits or re-inhabiting their bodies as corporeal undead. Very good spell, especially since animists can actually utilize those spirits in any case. And I think you've had a rather nasty dealing with a haunt at one point as well, which is probably a good idea. Okay then, so that's 5 gone straight away. That's just a level of an initiate, so you can have that. And duration is instant, so that's really nice to do. So what 5 skills would you like to improve?
The first one is oratory, because Bartleby is working on his speeches and trying to spin the trickery of the merchants into something that's actually good. My oratory is 46. My intelligence is 14.
Brilliant.
Here we go. Nope.
Struggling.
Struggling.
Struggling with that. Why is that 10 come up at green?
Oh, that's a D10.
You rolled a d10.
Oh, my bad.
Very struggling.
Go ahead and
Rolled a
re-roll that.
d90.
That's probably why you were struggling to get
Okay, here's a D100 plus 14, going for that 46.
46. Oh,
Still struggling.
still struggling. Yeah. Okay, so that goes up to 47.
And then the next one is going to be my passion oath to the twin moons.
Fantastic.
Which is a 67.
Yeah, 67.
Here's an attempt.
Nice. Nice. A 1d4 plus 1. So a passion, for people who are watching, is a skill that is very very important for the player, and they can use it to augment other rolls to make it more, to get a higher skill level. Yeah, so 1d4 plus 1.
Since it's rolling the dice. There we go.
5.
Okay.
Yeah, nice.
Wow. Amriel always likes these skills that are about her.
She does. She doesn't like any of the others, but yeah, so 3rd skill.
Brings it to a 72. My 3rd skill is going to be folk magic.
Yep.
Which is a 76, so I'm not going to get this one.
Oh, so close.
So
So close, but it's now 77.
Yeah, 77 is pretty cool. Let's see, I have
4.
2 left.
Yeah.
And I'm doing exhort as my
So that's
next
the
one.
skill that you roll to cast your miracles. Yeah.
Correct.
That hopefully-
That's 78.
78.
Not getting that one. Well,
Oh! Amriel is looking down at you. Or perhaps
only
not.
a little bit. That brings me up to a solid 80, though. And that's
That's
kinda cool.
nice. That's nice.
And my final one might make a lot of sense. Devotion, 83.
Yeah. 83.
No, but it's an 84.
It's an 84. It's getting there slowly but surely. And we'll zip across the board. to Hengist. How would you like to? You have five skill rolls.
I was hoping to learn a new skill. I haven't talked to you about it, so I fully accept if you don't want me to at this point. But I was hoping to learn Law Nobility of Lindo, or Noble Houses of Lindo, or something like that. So spend some time studying about the local, the three noble houses.
So let me just, because I think what you might need for that, which I don't think will worry you at all, but let me just, I'm wondering whether or not you need, how long will it take you to learn your miracle?
I believe it's a month.
Right, okay then, so we got plenty of time for this. Okay then, so what we'll say, Hengist, I'm quite happy for you to roll it. I think that'll cost you 3 experience rolls to learn it. I think the other thing that we need to do, what's your, because you're not going to be able to read about this, aren't you?
No. So he was hoping he could learn it sort of like orally. So by talking to, starting to talk to his butler to get a bit more of a background, and then. So
you're going to need a teacher, I think, who actually improve and sort of like works alongside with you, and so like to sort of like give you the detailed information. Maybe not your butler, because you probably want somebody not connected to a certain house. Because
Roderick.
Because otherwise it might be biased. So what we'll do, we'll put the skill down. You can have the skill, and then what I'll do is I'll have a look at the cost, and then I don't think you're poor in any case. So that's going to be a law skill, won't it?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. So therefore, that will be your intelligence doubled.
Intelligence doubled. That's fine.
I thought you were going to say that's 5.
No. It's,
that answers so many questions.
Yeah.
There you
That is currently 5. Brilliant. Okay then.
Intelligence doubled. There you go.
Hi,
I've
Darth.
spelt Lindo wrong, probably.
It's all right. I'll type it in
later.
And
and then I've got. Sorry.
Yeah, you've got 2 more.
Yes, thank you. I'll just copy that first, otherwise I will forget.
With a capital L, of course.
Of course. Hang on, I've got 2 L's now. Then the other 2. So one was going to go into his unarmed combat, because he used that a little bit last week, and it did not go well because he was not good.
Okay, so what is your unarmed combat?
Currently at 44.
44. Okay then. So
rolling 1d100 plus 11, which is my intelligence.
Cool. So your starting skill with what was your?
So starting on 44.
Yeah.
So I've done it.
Brilliant. So 1d4 plus 1.
Plus 1.
Oh yes, nice. Fine. And that probably also help with a whole load of specials as well that sometimes require an armed combat as a roll.
Maybe.
And one more skill then.
Stick that in there for the moment. And then the other skill was going to be his two-handed fighting.
Okay.
Because he also used that the other time.
He did all right with it.
He did all right, but he couldn't really get anywhere. He was like evenly matched, so he's going to be putting a lot of spare time when he's not learning about the Houses of Lindo.
Fantastic.
And probably frustrating through his density the tutor that he's paying. He'll be learning his way of the sword, which is his two-handed fighting style, which is currently at skill level 61.
61, nice. Okay then.
Nope,
so it's now 62.
62 is okay.
Excellent. And that's you over and done with, over and out, and which moves on to you, Hasra, with your whop off 10.
10 points.
Yeah.
Well, first off, he'll be putting 3 points into his nomadic combat skill, which at the moment stands at 98.
Oh, yeah, I see where you're going with it.
So we'll start off first.
What's your intelligence? Is it 11?
It's a 12, sorry.
12, yeah.
So, 30, so that's now 99.
9.
Okay, and we'll roll that again. Which is now 100.
100. So just to remind you now, normally you would fumble on a score of 99 or 100. You will only fumble now on 100.
Right, so I lose it on that 1 point.
Yeah, because you're just so good. And this is your last roll, which is now
Last one?
100.
48, so 100,
101. 101.
combat skills.
So what you
So
have
there
to
we go.
remind me, is that when you attack with that, okay,
You
because
take one off, don't you?
I take one off, because of course you can't roll bigger than 100, and so that would be it. So I would just take that as a negative off my parry or anything like that. So that's
Wonderful.
3 done. So you got 7
3 done.
left.
Okay, next one is influence for 2, because he was very proud of the way he ordered the servants around the house, and it's something that he needs. He feels he's good at, because he wants to be more sort of authoritative to people.
That was the crit roll, I remember.
That was a very good crit roll, yeah. So at the moment it's 29.
Okay.
So that's
Yeah,
51. So that's definitely yeah. So if I
1d4
do
plus
a
1.
1d4. Why are you going down? There we go. Plus 1. So that's 2. So that is now 31.
Fantastic.
And for my next roll, 59 again. So that's good. So 1d4 plus 1
Yeah.
is a 5.
Nice.
That's great. So 36 on that now.
So 5 more rolls left.
So survival, which is 73 at the moment.
73.
Yep. So, there we go.
Nice. 1d4 plus
Fantastic.
1. 3.
76.
Trombones
Tracking.
let the big parade. 110 call.
Yeah, okay.
4 left.
So tracking is 89.
Nice.
So it's now 90.
At least it's a nice round number.
It's a nice, yeah, exactly. So endurance, which is 79. Oh my days! That's a.
That's a good roll.
That's a good roll, and that's an even better
That's
roll.
good as well.
So which is now 84.
Correct. Yeah.
So perception, which is 90. I'm putting 1 point into that.
Brilliant.
So it's
Yeah.
now
Literally
91.
put 1 point,
1 point
into
that.
it. Yeah.
And
Last roll.
literacy, my tracking side.
Oh yes, we had a chat about this. So rather
We did.
than do correct me, rather than going down the reading and writing idea of literacy, we were going down the thing of almost like a bit like Thieves' Cant for trackers or something there. So people might sort of like tie over a blade of grass, which means
it's wood sign. as I call it.
don't come here or something like that. So you're sort of
to
like
watch out for totems or any sort of curse markers or
yeah, and that would link up nicely with the Brotherhood, who's your
exactly.
order. So it's their sort of like secret literacy language.
which I need to get in there. Which is
Yeah.
So 76, which is a good one, and 4, so it's now 29.
Nice one. So you
I
probably
have
spent some time with the. Thank you. So it's probably spent some time with the Brotherhood there, sort of like starting to sort of like understand.
Yes.
The
Why are
setup.
these 2 twigs this way and that one's exactly.
Yeah, so that's really nice. So everybody's got slightly better. We've got some combat skills going over the 100. Can I just remind you that if you do ever want to increase your characteristics, then you can do that, but it would require the same number of experience points, experience rolls used every time. So if you increased your strength up by 2 points, and that cost you, say, 2 experience rolls, every time you would have to sacrifice those 2 experience rolls to that strength score. And if you once didn't do it, then it goes back down. And then that's it. So it's like if you're sort of like spending time pumping iron or reading a lot or whatever, you have to maintain that, or otherwise you would just lose it. Just to let you know, it doesn't. If I sent you on a massive epic campaign, it would be assuming that you still do that on a daily basis, etc., etc. Okay then, so let's start with Hazra and go round the other way. Is there any? We've got about a month before the new game sort of like the new adventure starts. So starting with Hazra, then going Longshanks, Bartleby, and Hengist, Bartleby, and Gulliver. Is there anything that Hazra would like to be doing as well as this training?
Well, once he's been to the Brotherhood, he'd be going there almost every day, or a few times a week. Definitely, he wants to be out tracking and trapping animals.
Yeah.
And what he wants to do as well is take those animals to Basil and say, right, I've got a brace of pheasants for you, because he's been very, very good to us, and Hazard likes to reward loyalty in a sense. So he wants to say, right, there you go. Obviously, he's lived off the land himself, so he'll be doing that himself.
Okay.
So he'll be, It's just a little plus for Basil. Say nothing, cost nothing.
Yeah.
There you go.
So, are you charging for them?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm literally just giving it as out of the goodness of just
fantastic.
For us. Yes.
So, roll your survival skill.
Oh gosh, let me have the thing onto it first.
I just want to see what quality of game you present to.
I present. Oh, that's bad. Right, let me just add that onto there. Sorry, I was doing this while you watched. You shouldn't have come to me first. Yeah, pretty damn good game.
Yeah, that's quite good game. You managed not to, cut anything majorly off the beast or anything. And when you get in the trap, your traps are just right that it doesn't mangle everything, making it uneatable. You manage to skin them rather nice, and you take them to Basil at the Hairy Hobgoblin, and Basil is his usual self, and then when you sort of like present it to him on one day or next day, he almost like becomes almost like bashful, almost like embarrassed, and sort of like says, "Oh, Mr. Hazra, there's no need for you to..." Why has he gone Scottish?
No, I don't know. But it's very good. Scottish. No need to do that. Hazra will be like, Basil, my friend, this is a gift from us to you. You have been so accommodating to us, and our little meetings, and when we're coming here, and any trouble that, you've been very accommodating.
Yeah, and he sort of like looks through, and he sort of like picks up some chunks of meat, and he suddenly looks at something, and he sort of like picks it up, and it seems to be a leg of something, and he sort of says, "Mr. Hazra, you're not trying to sell me cat here, are you?"
I was about to say cat. No, I'm not. It's not a cat.
What beast would this be from? It looks very cat-like.
No, it's a lynx.
It's a lynx.
It's like a cat, but it's not a cat.
It's
like a lion.
He takes the link, the raw meat, and sniffs it for a while.
Very good with some pepper.
And then he just goes and takes a lick of it and goes, "Yeah, it's definitely not cat. Definitely not cat." And he sort of like...
I thought you'd know what cat is like.
He sort of like puts them, and he grabs his apron, his mucky apron, and he sort of like lifts it up at the front and pours all the bits of meat, and then he sort of like leans over to you and says, "This'll make a good stew for when you're next in. Link stew, the speciality of Mr. Basil at the Hairy Hobgoblin."
You could say it's a link between starter and dessert.
And he just sort of like looks at you and goes, "Yeah." And one of the legs falls out of his apron and hits the floor, and he sort of like picks it up and goes. He says, "Don't worry," and sort of like sticks it back into his pinny and sort of like his stained apron, and goes back off. And pretty soon you hear the flop flop flop, and it obviously gets into some kind of cauldron and starts to be heated up. There's definitely going to be links on the menu. Yeah, and what about Hengist? What's Hengist going to be doing?
Well, Hengist is probably just going to be sort of keeping his head down, learning. But obviously he will be... He will be available, make himself available to any sort of requirements that House Galot have to him, whether that's helping carry arms to the castle, or or those sorts of things. So he'll be generally just
Well,
being quite busy
yeah.
helping out with the House Galot's
House
day-to-day
Galot-
activities, so long as they still want him after what happened.
Well, House Galot is obviously in a state of mourning at the moment, so there's black shrouds everywhere. Are you letting on what you necessarily found out?
He's tried that. It wasn't very receptive, so he won't be advertising it unless he's directly cornered by someone about what happens.
Okay.
So he's not going to... Yeah, so unless someone comes up to him and says, what happened, then he won't sort of like be shouting about it, if you know what I mean. He won't be advertising what actually happens.
Well, if you remember, at the end of last adventure, Harmony Lee moved out of the House Galot and went to live with her mother, taking the twins. However, that situation does not remain like that. And as soon as the death of Ashton sort of like comes to the fore, Harmony Lee immediately takes a much more sympathetic approach to the whole situation, and she leaves her mother's house to go back and living in Ashton's house, which she soon, as you hear from the servants as you're walking around there, you're listening into what they're doing. And of course your Alfred doesn't sort of like is he called Alfred? I always call him Alfred.
We might as well just settle with that.
Yeah.
He's Alfred. I had thought of another name, but we've called him Alfred so often now
that we're just...
Alfred.
And Alfred's sort of like, of course, he's the model of discretion, and he, even when you inquire about things, he sort of like says, I'm not too sure about that, Master Hengist. But he sort of like hums and haws, and every now and again you sort of like walk past your servants who are polishing the banisters or something in your mansion, and you know, you hear them giggling, and Alfred sort of says, ladies, and they sort of like say, oh, but sorry, and Harmony Lee moves back into House Galot, and you probably walk around and see the various changes that are happening, and probably by the end of the month, about the third week, there's a huge funeral for Ashton. All the nobility are out on the streets, and they take the remains of Ashton's body, and Reginald's there leading the funeral parade. And they take them outside of Lindo where the nobility are buried. And of course, Ashton has a mausoleum there, and he's put to rest with his family. And you probably attend the funeral.
Yes.
And sort of like catch Harmony Lee's face as her eye, as you notice that she's definitely crying crocodile tears, and every now and again she dabs up at the top, and she seems to be keeping herself to herself, and the twin girls are dressed all in black and shuffling uncomfortably for the majority of it. And that happens at the beginning of the third week, and by the end of the third week you notice that there's various tradesmen going to the House Galot, and you notice that there seems to be some kind of refurbishment going on. Old furniture seems to be sold off or being broken down for firewood, and there's definitely a number of people, tradesmen, going in and out the whole day, and there's lots of muttering around the nobility aisle about the hill, about what Harmony Lee is going to do with the place. And it's by the end of the middle of the fourth week that you get something pushed through your door, and Alfred brings it to you on a tray, of course, and it's just a single folded piece of paper, and it basically says at the top, it says, now in residence, Harmony Lee, House Galot, and underneath it says head of house, as if she's really then completely in charge of everything. And you sort of like read that, and as you open it up, it's sort of like sealed with the wax seal of the House Galar. As you open it up, something drops out, and it seems to be a little flower. It's blue. It has 4 petals on it. It's very small. It looks like it's been pressed, and it just sort of like falls out of you. You sort of like ignore it then you sort of like see it, and it was definitely inside the paper, and you've opened it and it's fallen out.
Okay. So Hengist, obviously he can't read, so he doesn't quite know what the note says. So he will.
I can imagine him probably saying, so almost like saying, "Alfred, I cannot be bothered to read this today. Please read it for me."
I was kind of umming and ahhing whether I wanted Alfred to read it or if I wanted to trust Gully or Bartleby to read it for me. No, he'll probably ask Bartleby whether Bartleby. He would probably have invited Bartleby over to stay as a guest that night, the night before, if Bartleby wanted to.
Yeah,
in which case he would have passed the letter over to Bartleby.
Cool, and Bartleby can tell. And what about the flower?
The flower. So noticing that it's dropped, he's going to pick it up and he'll be holding it in his hand, sort of like examining it whilst.
Yeah, it's tiny, so it's
letter.
With the stalk, it's only about this big.
So he'll be holding it sort of like between thumb and forefinger.
Yeah.
And be like at the end of the stem and looking at it. So like turning it round. So like noticing that it's pressed and
and it looks quite fragile as well. Okay. You sort of like play with your flower, and we'll move on to Mr. Bartleby. What have you been up to in the month?
For the most part, Bartleby's been up to learning this late arrest, and his ultimate goal upon learning it is to go to Archie's grave, because he had talked with the butler of the house about getting Archie dealt with there, and Bartleby doesn't really know what the extent of recently killed might mean, so he's just trying it, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't do anything, but he's hoping that it'll give the spirit some rest.
Yeah, and there's probably plenty of people snuffing it in the slums that you can sort of like practice on. Archie is also laid to rest, is buried outside the city walls. Interestingly enough, though, as you go out of the entrance, the noble houses with all their mausoleums and everything are on one side, and on the opposite side is the commoner's graveyard, where there's a few wooden crosses and there's many unmarked graves, and you notice that there seems to be rather large stones put out now and again, and when you query this with the grave digger, he sort of like says, "Oh, that's so I know where everyone is." And he says, we just put them out. Wouldn't want to start digging and suddenly find that I'm digging up someone else. You know what I mean? And he sort of like nudges you with his elbow as he's like,
I'll nudge him back, all playful.
He sort of like takes you to where Archie's grave is, and there's a small wooden cross there, and there's no writing on it or anything. It just says Archie. There's no sort of like epitaph or born or dead. It just says Archie, and you do notice as you walk away that the cross has been used twice, because on the back of it says Mabel, and they obviously picked it up from somewhere, come across and turned it round and stuck it in, and it's not chiseled in or anything. It's just sort of like a piece of paper, piece of parchment, sort of like tacked into it. So they obviously use it twice, and then take both of them off and move this one cross around, and you can tell that all the bottom of the cross is mouldy and sort of like wet and sodden, so you lay Archie to rest. Just roll your exhort roll. It's going to come off. I just want to make sure that you don't fumble, because you might get, it is a new spell. Or you get a crit. I was just about to say, or you get a crit and later rest the whole of the the whole of the graveyard in one fair swoop. So you probably get a couple of people on either side as well. But yeah, you're well and truly he's well and truly blessed and laid to rest. And there goes. Hazra's had a go at some. I'm just quickly reading it before I read it out.
It'd be great for his tombstone.
Alas, poor Archie didn't need to die if he'd only learned to fly. It's that's like the advert, isn't it? What's the ad? Yeah, there's an advert when he says, I could do this, I could do this, I could play games, I can fly.
Sadly, he couldn't fly.
Sadly,
that's the one. Oh, mate, subliminal. Oh, my God.
It is, yeah.
Damn your advertising companies.
Brilliant. Anything else that Bartleby would like to do?
Beyond reading letters for Hengist, I don't believe so.
Okay, so you get to know the information that I gave earlier. And we will move on to Sorcerer's Apprentice Gulliver. What would you like to do for the month out and about?
Gulliver will just spend his time carrying out the duties that are expected of him as an apprentice in the Order of the Kraken. So doing his studying, helping in the library, practicing his spells.
Cool. Anything else that you would like to be doing?
No, that is it. Thank you.
Okay then. So both of you have got mentors, haven't you? Both.
Yes.
Yeah. I think. What's yours called, Gulliver?
Danielle Duncan.
Danielle Duncan, and yours, Bartleby?
Priest Jeremiah Cross.
Oh, fantastic. So we're going to start the adventure that you're probably in your usual meeting place. You've met in the Hairy Hobgoblin once again, and you're really excited because there's something new on the actual on the menu tonight. And really excited. And once you come in and you sort of like sit down at your usual table, Basil comes across and sort of says, "Oh, gentlemen, we have something new on the thing." And he sort of like looks at you, Hazard, winks at you and says, "Tonight we have the speciality of Linux stew. Well, maybe a bit of both."
Hazard will just kind of like smile knowingly and then look down at the table with his eyes getting wider.
Yeah, and he sort of like brings. He says, "A bowl for everyone, then."
Yes, Basil.
For me.
Oh, Mr. Bartleby, you would enjoy this, I think. Maybe. Well, we'll see.
Most definitely, it was. They were actually captured by your fellow adventurer here. Apparently, he's somewhat of a hunter.
No, I've been known to capture the odd beast.
And Basil leans forward and says, "Don't worry, it's not cat. I thought it was cat to start off with, but it turns out it's not cat. Well, sort of cat. It's a cat called Lynx. I'm not too sure why they would call it Lynx in the first place, but it's a cat called Lynx, which in my eyes are absolutely fine. And the joint falling on the floor just adds to the flavour."
It does. But if you get the cat links and rub it under your arms, they will stay dry all day.
Really? And he sort of like fishes out a chunk of meat out of... Let me just roll a 1d4 here. D4. Out of your soup, Stewie goes, "Really?" And he sort of like picks it up with his hands slightly open, his fingers open, so all the gravy sort of like falls through his fingers into the back into your soup. And he sort of like looks around, and he's probably got just his apron on the top half, and he just sort of like takes this and lifts up an arm and goes
No, just
like this.
right before he does it, Azrael go, no, Basil, when they are alive.
Oh, he says this is
fur, it's the fur, it's not it's wet already.
Oh, he says, good job you told me. Good job you told me, Master. I would have made a complete fool of myself. And he reaches forward and he slips his hand, and the plump of meat plumps back into your stew. And he sort of like looks at it and he says, don't worry. He says, I'll get you a spoon. And it comes back with a spoon and sort of like turns it round a bit and sort of like says, good as new, and licks the spoon and sort of like goes hurrying off. And you all sort of like sit round, and if any of you, are you all participating in the wonderful?
Gulliver certainly will. Yeah, he likes trying anything new.
Yeah, and
he doesn't probably know what a lynx is anyway.
No, but
Angus will, but he'll be sort of like somewhat tentative about it. He'll wait to see if everyone else. He's sort of like he'll get the spoon and then sort of like hover it by his mouth and sort of like sniff it, and then wait to see everyone else is sort of like putting it in their mouth and to see what their first initial reaction is before he like takes.
Got ya. And what about Bartleby?
He ordered a double, and he's gonna dive into it because he's hungry from a long day of studying.
So Bartleby and Gulliver and Hazra, could you roll for me a deceit roll, please?
I was going to go endurance on mine after seeing what I just seen.
A deceit roll?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought I heard wrong for some reason.
No, you'll see. So Hazra, you managed to eat
the best thing I've ever tasted in my life.
Bartleby, you sort of like put a bit in your mouth, go, like this, and just sort of like don't say anything, and just sort of like try to, unless you're using a point of luck.
No. He has no patience for lying to people today.
And you sort of like try to swallow it, and then there's sort of like like that, and you start to push the bits of meat to one side and just try to get the liquid out, which doesn't taste much better. Gulliver, are you using a point of luck?
I am not, no.
Yeah, and Gulliver sort of like picks up a bit, puts it in his mouth, and just goes like that, and fires out across the table. Hengist, that probably gives you the.
Hengist sort of like pauses even more, and then slowly puts the spoon back in the bowl untouched, and then will reach for his tankard and just take a long draught. And then when no one's quite fully paying attention, especially when Basil's not paying attention, he'll just sort of like push the bowl a little bit further away.
Yeah, and Basil comes back and says, everybody enjoying the link stew? I hope everybody is. And don't forget, if you want to keep dry in the rain, make sure you rub yourself with the fur of a lynx. It keeps you completely dry. And you're sort of thinking, okay then, another one of Hazra's helpful tips. However, it's while you're sort of like doing this that you get an extra companion, or somebody approaches the table. It's one of the bluebirds, the messenger service provided by Gulliver's order, the order that Gulliver's a member of, and comes up and seems to come straight up to you, Gulliver, and hands you a parchment that is folded over and sealed with wax with the sign of the Kraken on it that you are well and familiar to. And the bluebird doesn't seem to wait for anything. He just sort of like comes up. He probably asks Basil, and Basil points you out, and he comes up and says, there you are, Master Gulliver. And as soon as you take it off him, he seems to be turning round. He's not rushing out. He just seems to have completed his role.
That's weird, isn't it? I've only just left the place. I wonder why they just didn't tell me when I was in the halls. Does it have any particular mark on it, or is it just?
It's sealed with the Order of the Kraken seal. So it's obviously come from your order.
Do I know who can actually seal letters?
Anybody of a senior position within your. So what's your rank in the Order of the Kraken?
Apprentice.
Yeah, so anybody sort of like a little bit higher than you, well, a couple of ranks higher than you, can actually do it.
Right, so it could have been sealed by my my new mistress, or it could have been done by the, say, I don't know, the leader of the guild.
Yeah, it could be done by anyone higher up in your order.
Right. Okay, I just want to examine it first. I mean, does it look authentic?
Yeah, I mean it's.
We've had lots of issues with things like from the Thieves Guild, you know.
Okay, then roll an insight roll for me.
I got a 33 out of 71.
Yeah, it looks completely kosher. It doesn't look like it's a forgery or anything like that. The seal is properly sealed. It's the wax of that the Order of the Kraken use with a, rather than red, it's blue. The seal is exactly the same as the Order of the Kraken seal. So everything seems to be completely and utterly in order.
Okay, he'll break the seal and open it and scan the parchment to see what's written on it.
Yeah. So basically, it is from your mentor, and it says basically it's quite short and to the point because that's how she talks to you, and that's her general mood. And it basically says. However, it's to the point, but it's flowery. So it's not so like, come here now. It's sort of like, as the sun rises tomorrow morning at 10 bells, you will be required to come to the Order of the Blue Kraken, to my office, along with your friends, to discuss your future in the Order. Yours. And then Danielle. Gulliver
sort of like read it a couple of times, and then he'll just sort of like hand it to Bartleby and wait for him to read it.
Yes, Bartleby, you scan it down and see what is written there.
Bartleby will take this chance to clear his table space a little bit, and mostly because he doesn't want the soup anymore, and he doubled up, and that was a bad choice, but he'll push it out of the way to really read this letter. And then as he reads it, he starts to get an excited expression. He says, well, that sounds wonderful, Gulliver. I was hoping for something uplifting, a new place to see.
Well, you'd never been into the halls before?
I might have been once or twice, but you know, it's not really a place I get called to very often.
I think the last time you were all invited to the halls was when we opened the portal across to the barbarian land, and you ended up in a brothel.
Yes.
You never know what happens at that Order of the Kraken.
Not like they've got that channel on favourites or anything.
Well, it must be something serious, or that uses our various talents.
I don't know. I don't know whether or not maybe they've, because I've been talking to Captain Seatide about maybe going home.
Going home.
Well, just fulfilling my promise and going back and seeing my old Master Healy. I wrote to him a few months ago, and Captain Seatide said he promised that he would actually take the letter, but I haven't heard back, and I'm worried now.
How long was your voyage?
Across here?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a long time. maybe, well, we got lost in a storm. I don't know, maybe a month or so.
And you raided an island as well, if I remember correctly,
We did.
with witch doctors.
And painted men.
Yeah, painted men, and Gulliver slew a scorpion
With a stone.
which is with a stone.
Sorry, Angus Hazard. The letter here, it says we're being invited to the Order of the Kraken. Because that wasn't clear.
But we're all being invited.
Well, Gulliver primarily, but I think we're all his friends.
That much is true, but what do I need to wear? Do I need to cozy up to these people? Hengist, you know these people better than I do. You know Gulliver, but you've been with him longer. What do we need to do?
I've only met.
I think you just need to go there.
Oh,
Hengist, you can roll a courtesy roll.
Angus will definitely roll a courtesy roll. Hang on, that's not right. That's better.
Yeah, Hengist thinks you probably have to wear something very similar to the party outfits that you wore beforehand. You know, this is how you meet high and noble people like the Order of the Kraken. You know, they're very close to godliness. You know,
Yes, best foot forward and all of that. You need to look the part.
yeah, and
so my white the uniform rather than my grey one then.
yes.
Yes.
Yes, just make sure you haven't got any links spilled on it.
Oh, no, that's on my old uniform.
And of course you don't want to let down Gulliver as well.
No, of
So
course not.
you sort of like think, you know, Bartleby getting his furs on, nice white quilted armor. Hengist, you know, it's a bit like the Wizard of Oz. You'll get yourself in there. They'll buff you up with your.
It's not a lot of spit and polish and armor
yeah,
polish.
and
Smell them a mile
Alfred,
away.
is my armor ready? Yes, sir. We have freshly polished it this morning. You know, and you sort of like, or you get onto your doublet that you had on for the party and your puffy white sleeves and everything. Yeah,
Don't worry, Hengist. If it comes to the time that I have to make the introductions, I'll introduce you as a friend, not a retainer.
That's very kind of you, Gulliver.
Okay, so time moves on, and the next morning, Gulliver, you're probably waiting outside for your friends to arrive, and you're sort of like stood there in your normal garb, and you see them coming down the street in their full regalia, as if they're going to some kind of party.
It's more like that sort of entrance scene in Thor where they're all walking down, you know,
Yes.
the heroes, yeah, all shiny.
And the commoners are saying, "Morning, Prince Edmund." Morning, Prince. Morning, Father Bartleby, and morning, peasant. Morning, Master Hengist, and morning, peasant. You know, and yes, Gulliver, you see them coming back in all their wonderful regalia, and they sort of like walk up to you at the entrance to the Kraken, the Order of the Kraken. What are you going to say or do, Gulliver?
Gulliver will look at him and say, "Are you going somewhere after here?"
Well, I'm not going to stay here overnight.
No, this is true. But Hengist said, we come to see you dressed like this. It was the best way to put our best foot forward, he said.
And we're going to celebrate your promotion afterwards.
We are.
That's surely why we're here.
We shall raise a glass to you with your presence, and you can have as much cheese as you feel like.
I'm not being funny, but they're probably going to chuck me out.
Be
Then it'll
silly,
be a
Gulliver.
commiseration party.
I don't think they
Yes.
would be chucking Gulliver out. You've paid attention to the Order. You've studied well in the Order. You've learnt, you've perfected your skills, up the appropriate skills for your Order for promotion.
Did you not go through that silly watery thing where we went to the different place and helped your order out?
What?
You know, I don't know. We went to the watery thing and ended up in this lady's house.
I think he meant support.
We
We went to a watery grave. I'm sure it was a watery grave that we went to.
I don't know. It just seems all a bit strange that Mistress Duncan would summon me for this. She's never really taken much interest in what I'm doing. I've talked to the other apprentices, and she's all about herself. She's very much the type of person that just wants to do the bare minimum to keep her position. So chances are, if she wants to speak to me, somebody else has asked her to have a word for me.
Which could be even greater things. If you've drawn attention to the higher echelons of your order, great things could be on the cards for you, Gulliver.
Yes. It's very true, but as my old grandmother used to say, why sit back and listen and think about what could go wrong or what is this and what is that, when you can put your best foot forward and find out the truth.
I thought
So
you were
why
mentioning
don't-
grandma just to mention a different joke.
No, I wouldn't do that.
Can't make a monkey out of house rip.
Are you going to be all right, Hazra?
My friend Gulliver, it is. I do not like being here. You know I don't like being here. But for you, my friend,
Oh,
I will step up. I've been here before. I know what it's like inside. It's very close and very dark, and it does discomfort me. But you last time I was here, you gave me great confidence in the fact that it was fine and I would be okay. And I was. I came back through. Even after the crazy flying things that tore that man's head off. That was quite scary. But no, we came back here. I trust you, Gulliver. You will keep me safe.
You try not to touch anything.
I will not touch anything. Can I touch my spear? I'd be fine. Yeah, I hold my spear. It's fine.
I suppose we better get it over with.
okay.
So
you.
Gulliver's going to lead the way through the halls and head towards Daniel Duncan's apartment. I suppose
Yeah,
it is.
she to her office, where she conducts business. And as you're walking through, Gulliver, with your friends with you, all in the regalia, you notice that a fellow blue-robed sorcerer is walking almost like in opposite direction, coming towards you. He's quite tall. He's about 6'2". You recognise him because you've seen him at various events that you've been to, and he started off the same level as you, as an initiate within the order. And he sort of like, he seems to be walking with a certain pride, a certain confidence in your in his step, and he sort of like sees you sort of like walking towards him, and he sort of like stops and sort of like looks at you, and he sort of like goes, "Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, Gulliver."
What's his name?
His name's Dox, and Dox. He was an orphan from Lindo, you know, but you remember him from his training. Your training. He was a bit of a bully, a bit of a know-it-all, and was prepared to go underhand in order to sort of like get what he wanted.
Has he just come out of the office?
No, he just seems to be walking down the entrance hall as you enter. And you notice that he's wearing what appears to be a new set of robes, and they're the lovely blue, that almost like pure French blue of your order, and he's wearing them with pride, and they seem to be tailored just right to fit him.
Gulliver's going to say, "I'm sorry, Dox. I can't stop to talk at the moment. I've been summoned to see Mistress Duncan about a matter of importance."
Oh, he said, he sort of like looks at you and thinks, and sort of like looks and sort of like almost, he seems to have a, almost like a grin on his face. And he says, "You haven't heard, haven't you, Gulliver?"
Heard what now? What?
"Have you not heard? I am now an adept in the Order of the Kraken." "Yeah, you heard that. An adept."
Well, does that mean you get your own room now?
"Yeah, I get more than that. I always said to you, Gulliver, right from the beginning, hard work. That's what you need to do. And look at me now." He sort of like shovels his thing. And the rest of you see him grow a little bit taller. He says, "I'm an adept. I will be getting my orders to go off and probably start my own order building somewhere, or be second in command." He says, "What about you? What rank are you?"
Gulliver ignore that and he'll say, "Well, I don't think it could have happened to a nicer person. You were always so good at your magic."
"Yeah."
Can I make a deceit roll?
Yes, by all means. And are you looking at it at all?
No.
No. And he sort of like, he looks at you and he sort of like waits for a moment and then bursts out laughing and says, "Gulliver," and he sort of like gives you a hearty pat on the back. He says, "You always were a bit of a joker. Shame that didn't help you become a sorcerer of great power like myself."
No.
"Tell me," he says, have you mastered the portal spell yet? You know, the major spell within the whole of the Order of Kraken."
No, but you know that spell's only taught to people of the highest.
"Ah, see, and that's why I'm an adept, and you are not. Hard work, Gulliver, that's what you need. Hard work. Now, I would love to stand here and talk to a minion like yourself, but, you know, us adepts have certain things that we need to do. Unlike other people. Don't worry, I'm sure there's a floor to sweep somewhere." And he just sort of like looks at all you three in your outfits, and he sort of like looks at you a bit puzzled. He says, "You going to a party or something?"
I thought we were.
"Right.
We are escorting a friend to a very important meeting."
Wow." He sort of like, he says, good on you. And he carries on walking, and you just hear him in the, "Well, mercy me, Gulliver now has friends."
As he goes past Hazra, would there be a chance for Hazra to maybe slip his spear slightly to trip him up?
Yeah. So
Not just purely accidental. I mean, these things do happen.
they do happen at all. I'm just going to decide what skill shall we use here. Okay, then. So what we'll do, you can roll your combat skill. Because that's how proficient you are in the.
Just a little. Yeah.
I am going to oppose roll
a
it,
little bit.
though, just so you know. So he will roll against you, and just to let you know, this isn't a roll that you can take the 1% off me. 'Cause that's for combat. Oh, Mr. Pickle's
Okay.
gone. So,
No, Mr. Pickles is back. He's back.
He's back. Oh no, he's gone again.
No.
Yeah, roll away. Yeah, and as he turns around and sort of like walks past you, Hazra sort of like slowly puts out his stick and the tip of his spear,
It's a spear.
and Docs doesn't even see it. He actually trips full length, and what's worse, because he sort of almost like fumbles with it, he probably had his hands in his robe as he walked forward, and he just sort of like face palms the floor, and there's a bit of a crunching sound and he sort of like staggers to his feet with his.
Listen, well, as soon as that happened, Azra will be like, "I'm very sorry, my man. Are you okay? You seem to trip over."
He says,
And-
I think I broke my nose. I feel
goodness.
all dizzy.
You need something cold on that, I think, to stop. You go and sit down. Put your head between your knees. You'll be fine. Okay, go.
As the increased blood flow.
Yes,
And he
yes,
says,
indeed.
no, he says, I'm not coming near you lot. Oh, Mr. Gulliver has some really powerful friends, it seems. Oh, this floor needs some kind of floorboarding. And he sort
Well,
of
to
like...
be fair, my friend, that is something you need to choose yourself, which is which.
And the administrator walks down and sort of like sees you, all of you in the corridor, and she sort of like looks at you, Gulliver, and says, Gulliver, your mentor will see you now, and please do bring your friends. I think you know your way to the office, yes?
Yes, I was just going to help Docs because he's just fallen over and it looks like his nose could be broken.
We can deal with that. It is important that you attend the lady, your mentor. She has been waiting for some time.
Okay. So Gulliver's going to head down there.
Yeah, so you all...
But before he goes through, he's going to stop and he's going to say, don't say anything that's going to embarrass me, will you?
Won't say a
wouldn't dream
thing,
of it.
Gulliver.
It's yeah. It might be best.
You sort of like say this as you come to the door, and her office door is shut, and you walk up to it and you're just about to knock, and I would like you all to make perception rolls for me, please. Hengist make the perception roll. Hazard definitely does. Gulliver does. Bartleby, you're just pondering about whether or not you should have actually healed that person with the broken nose, and you sort of like as you get to the office door, and you sort of like raise your hand to sort of like knock, and you hear snippets of a conversation inside. There appears to be a man and a woman talking. Gulliver, you recognise the woman's voice as your mentor, Danielle. The male voice, you have no idea. It seems to be quite manly, quite authoritative, quite charismatic in the way it's being spoken. It seems to have that confidence in its tone, and you seem to there's an exchange between the two of them, and you just pick up little bits of the conversation, and it's mainly the guy's voice talking, and Danielle's voice is sort of like agreeing, and you get snippets such as you owe me, Danielle. That's a definite phrase. And also, you will do this for me. And it's very much you will do this for me, rather than the emphasis is on that word do. And the final thing that you hear is don't worry, no one will ever know. And they're sort of like, you just sort of like capture these bits of conversation, and you just pause momentarily at the door, and then you sort of like think too long and go, and the room goes quiet for a moment, and then Danielle's voice comes up and he says, come in. And Gulliver, you open the door and you all sort of like go into Danielle's office that I will describe to you after the break. But you suddenly notice that there are two people in the room. Danielle is there with her robes on, lovely French blue robed, very short hair, close crop, but still feminine. But it's not that person that your eyes are attracted to. You're attracted to the other person in the room, a man probably in his late 20s, quite broad and quite muscular, and he has a a short white grey haircut. It doesn't seem to match his age. It looks more like it's dyed or something. And you notice that he has piercing yellow eyes. The actual iris of his eyes are yellow, almost like animal-like, Hazra. But even though this is completely strange, it's not what unnerves you the most. Because as you walk in and you see them both there, you notice that the man is robed completely in black. And we will end it there for our break. So just so people are listening, there's 4 orders in Odess, the continent. There's the Blue Order, which Gulliver is a member of, that deals with communication, teleportation, etc. There's the White Order, the Order of the Dragon, that deals with healing, etc. There's the Red Order, the Order of the Phoenix, that are almost like battle mages. They go into battle and fight like that. And then finally there's the Black Mages,
The scum.
the Order of the Lich, who do deal with undead and things like that, but also have a right to meet. You know, they might be evil. They're more, if they're good, if you understand the alignment system, they're probably chaotic good. So they don't sort of like believe in the law of the lands. They will use anything to get their own way. And so there's an Order of the Lich, one of the black sorcerers, stood in the room. And we will pick this up straight after our break. So we're going to have a 10-minute break now. So please do go away, stretch your legs, grab yourself a drink, make some snacks, and come back in 10 minutes. So for the people here, that will be 1:45 the hour. We will start again and we'll pick it up from this unnerving point. We'll see you all soon. Let me just mute them and go to be right back. And we are back. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. They were just talking
Hello.
about what is it? Well,
Mountain 2.
do you know
Banner
that
Lords.
because I'm on Twitch a lot now, and I have quite a eclectic.
Surely, stop, Ian Wills. Surely you should be sending out work for your students.
I do, and that's all. Well, they're on holiday now.
Of course,
The lucky
yeah.
beggars.
Yeah. So thank you, Darth.
Thank you, Darth.
But he just said, "Welcome back, adventurers,"
Oh, thank you, Darth.
and GM as well.
He didn't say that.
No, he didn't. I must admit, when I was playing, it's really interesting playing from your side of the screen, if that makes sense, and sort of like trying to unpick what's actually going on. But I probably told you this, but when I was playing, I made loads of notes, and then suddenly realised I even drew a picture of what the symbol was, but then suddenly realised that I wasn't coming back again for the game, so it actually didn't. They have 2 people who are in it every week, and then 2 other people that come and join them. So at the end of the day, and the only bit I didn't like, there was a combat, and they said we're not going to play out this combat because it'll take too long, so we'll just roll a dice. And we rolled a d20, and he sort of like said, "You did really well, you didn't do very well, you did so and so," which I didn't like. I just sort of thought, I think if I didn't have time for combat, I would stop it or something like that. But it was really interesting, and 5e is an interesting. I was just really confused when Celine, who was the rogue, her first action, she said, Celine was quite entertaining. I thought she had
brilliant.
She had a really good, and she interacted well with me backwards and forth.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing was when it came to her turn. Okay, so I'd done my action. Somebody else. It came to her action, and she says, "I'll get my short bow from out of my bag, get an arrow, knock the arrow, and fire it." And now in Mythras, that's like yeah, and then she had a bonus action which I don't understand, and then
But then if you use their attributes as well, you can then have another rerun of those actions.
Yeah, and it seemed, and your armor class is set.
I take second wind.
Yeah, well, I had to take second wing because
Did you? All right.
a spider. It was only if I hadn't made my Constitution saving throw, I would have died. Well, I would.
Poison.
I would.
Yes.
Because I had 18 hit points, I would have been knocked unconscious in the first battle with a snake.
No, there was more than one snake in the woods. There was a pile of snakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
That's your saving grace. There
But
was a
that
pile
was
of
like,
snakes.
come back! Where are you going?
Wait, that was brilliant. I love
Well,
that
it's because
character.
Wegbert just kept going, and I'm thinking,
It's brilliant.
where's he going? But
Just get up to the goes.
I'll drop you a link
well.
to what I'm listening to in that at the moment. But it's absolutely fantastic. I'm listening to something at the moment. It's very good.
did you? Who what's the the other person's name? Chicanery, I think.
Chicanery, yeah.
I didn't realise that chicanery is actually a word, and it actually means deceit.
Yeah,
And,
chicanery.
and it's really interesting because she's a changeling cleric.
I
So
did not get that.
whatever you see might not actually be her. And that's why when she first appeared and I said, "What would you look like?" She said, "In this instance, she is."
Yeah, I
because
picked up on that. Yeah.
which I thought was really good. Anyway, back to Mythras. You have just arrived at the Order of the Blue Order, the Order of the Blue Order, the House of the Order of the Blue Order. And you have just gone into an office where Danielle, Gulliver's mentor, and is stood, and a black-robed sorcerer is with her. Just to let you know, Danielle is sat behind her desk. She seems to have both hands on the table with her fingers crossed on the top. And the other guy, the guy in the room, the black-robed mage, the sorcerer, seems to be being almost like in mid-pace, if that makes sense. And when she says "come in," and he's sort of like, whirls round and sort of like sees you all there. And
As Hazra steps through the door, see the Black-Robed Sorcerer, he will grip his spear and lean it forward slightly in that an astonished stance.
yeah, and the Black-Robe Sorcerer almost like enjoys this, as if he feels that it's putting you to that almost like defensive stance, as if
Which it is.
So his prowess, he's sort of like acknowledging it, that it's him.
It's the robe.
Yeah, you know, and you sort of like, and Danielle sort of like says,
What's the current relationship between the orders?
well, the orders are currently via the council, the Sorcery Council. They're not in battle with anybody. There was a while back. The rumor is, roll your Order of the Kraken passion. Let's see what you know. So 16 out of 60. So you probably know that there's no tensions currently. Everybody seems to be working well together. There is a council meeting coming up in the next couple of months, where a new leader will be decided upon. There is a lot of rumours that you've heard round about that the Order of the Phoenix and the Order of the Lich are almost like in cahoots with each other, and there's a lot of rumour that politically that they might actually join together to vote against certain orders that are being presented at the church council, almost like to have an upper hand. As you will be aware, the current head of the council, one of the white mages, one of the Order of the Dragon mages, was assassinated. So there's still this element of not knowing, and the rumor is that the Order of the Phoenix and the Order of the Lich are going to work together to try to put one of their order on the pedestal. Order of the Blue Order is normally quite neutral to all this politics. They see themselves as stood around and this sort of like dealing with everybody, and maybe not even having a political opinion. But the black, white, and red order understand that the Blue Order is a pivotal order within the sort of like the dynamics, because without them, a lot of transport will be shut down.
And how natural is it to see a mage from another order in, say for example, seeing a Order of the Phoenix in the Order of the Dragon,
Okay, so I'll take your previous role as your role for that. It's not unheard of, but it normally means that there's been important business or some kind of interaction between two people. So obviously you could have family members that are in different orders, and they can meet. With the Blue Order being quite neutral in most aspects, they are more likely to have other orders in their abodes, mainly because the majority of them might be using the portals to transport elsewhere, etc. But you've never seen, ever since you arrived at Lindo, you've never seen a Black-Robe Sorcerer in the Order. You've seen some white ones now and again, but you've never seen a black or red. And you've certainly never seen a Black-Robe Sorcerer in your mentor's office, despite all your meetings.
Have I ever seen him before? Do I know who he is?
You can make an insight roll if you wish. No, you're not familiar with him.
Okay.
At all.
So Gulliver will say, "I'm here as requested."
And Danielle sort of like says, "Come in, Gulliver and friends." And she sort of like beckons Gulliver in, and then sort of like turns her attention to the three of you and says, Welcome to the Order of the Kraken. My name is Danielle. I am Gulliver's mentor. And yes, we have some, and she sort of like looks at the black robe, and some business that, if you are so kind, you will be able to assist Master Gulliver with. Yes, please take a seat, everyone. And there's enough chairs for you to seat, or if you prefer to stand, then you can.
Gulliver will keep standing.
Exactly. Hazard will move to a chair, but stand behind it, keeping it between him and the black robe.
Yeah.
Although he'll keep sort of like shifting his weight from one leg to another.
Yeah, and she sort of like says to you, since nobody mentioned it, she sort of like says, "Oh, I do apologise," and she sort of like gestures to the Black-Robed Sorcerer and said, "This is Forbury from the Black-Robed Order, the Order of the Lich," and he sort of like smiles and bows slightly, but as he bows, he doesn't nod his head down. He maintains eye contact with almost each and every one of you, and then, as if he's not concerned at all, he sort of like turns to Danielle and says, "I thank you very much that you have seen reason in this matter." And she sort of like goes, "Yes." And the Black Forbury turns to you all and says, "It was lovely meeting you. Hopefully we will meet again." And with a swish of his black robe, he sort of like marches towards the door.
I was going to trip him up. He's not.
And as he gets to the door, you notice there's sort of like some young order, some real young, sort of like 10 or 11, and walking past, and he's just sort of like walks into the door, and you see them suddenly stop and go,
I drained life.
and he's just sort of like smiles at them.
Yeah.
And turns and walks away. And Danielle walks over and shuts the door and comes back and sits behind her desk and addresses you all. And she says, I think, yes. Gulliver, I've been looking at your reports. I am not sure whether or not you are keeping up with promoting your rank within the order. It's, well, shall we just say, it's time for you to sort of like start to step up slightly. There are certain things that you should be doing after being a member of the order for so long that, you know, we are looking constantly to promote people and give you access to better spells, give you more focus in what you hope to achieve within the order. And because of this, yes, because of this, I am asking you to do one of our many maintenance jobs. Yes, before you disagree, there is no option for you to do this. Being a member of the order, it is expected. And she sort of like looks at the other three and says, "Don't worry, gentlemen. You will be paid for your services. Let me explain what is going down, and then we can talk money." So, as you are aware, and she's not looking at you, Gulliver, she's addressing the three. As you're aware, the Blue Order, the Order of the Kraken, are actually responsible for the multitude of portals that are stretched completely across Lindo. Any sorcerer within the Blue Order soon learns the portal spell. So if they know where a mark is, they can teleport.
At this point, you see a glaze go over Hazard's eyes.
Yeah.
As he like just stares into middle distance and like.
Yeah, and she seems not bothered about that at all. She just seems to be on almost like on an oratory sort of like spiel, and she just sort of like keeps talking and talking. And says, and of course, as sorcerers rise in the ranks of the Blue Order, they learn the portal spells in order to transport ourselves around and transport others, since that is the aim of our order, communication and transportation, as you're probably already aware if you have worked with Master Gulliver for such a long time. Anyway, there seems to be an issue. One of our jobs that we give to our lesser members of the order, she looks at you, Gulliver, again, is the maintenance of these portals. Obviously, if one is not working, we have to ascertain the reason for this, why it's not working, and almost like correct it. Now, against my better judgment, Forbury has brought my attention towards a portal that is not working anymore. It is his, how can I say it, his ex-master's portal. He wished to be teleported there today, and unfortunately the portal is blocked for some unknown reason, and I have agreed, due to the fact that it appears to be a fault of the actual portal, to remedy this. And so you will be tasked, Gulliver, to travel to the order, to the portal, and ensure that it is in working order, so that Forbury can actually teleport to his masters. Now, of course, your colleagues here, although it is a requirement of the order for that Gulliver to do this, it is not a job that you all have to do. And so I am willing to pay a reasonable amount of 200 silver pieces per day to have you attend, Gulliver, in any way. And she sort of like turns to you, Bartleby, and says, of course, if you would prefer a suitable donation to your church, then I am more than happy to transfer the funds there. Now, any questions?
Yes, just to stop me, my lady. How many days would it take us to get to this location?
Oh, yes, a good question. And she sort of like looks at you, Gulliver. She says, a good question from one of your colleagues.
Gulliver's just sort of like scowling at Hasra.
A good question from one of your colleagues. Well done, good gentleman. Yes, the island where the Master's Tower is, unfortunately known as the Dark Tower, but please do not let this put you off. But black and darkness is not even a colour. It is but, oh yes, a shade. It is about 2 or 3 weeks sail down out of Lindo to the southeast, towards Gulliver, your homeland, and Master Hengist to yours. I think that was the way you came. I'm not too sure whether or not you actually saw the tower on your way to Lindo.
I can't remember. It was such a long time ago, and there were so many.
There was a lot of
happening.
storms, wasn't there?
Well,
We did meet a little old lady in a rowboat in the middle of the storm. She was really nice.
Oh yes, Lady Miko, she was, wasn't she?
well, the island is unfortunately known as calamitous. It is a rather, well, island is probably the incorrect word. It is more of a sea stack that comes straight out of the sea, and perched on top is the Black Tower, the place where a zodiac where it lives. That's for Brier's master. Yes, about 2, maybe 3 weeks journey. Any other good questions?
Have we tried communicating him via any other way to see what's wrong with the portal?
And she sort of
Or
like,
is it too far away for
she
projecting sense? Or telepathy.
Yeah, more. Danielle looks a little bit shocked at that, as if a good question has come from Gulliver, and says, obviously some of your training is working out well. I will make a note of that, Gulliver, in my weekly report. Unfortunately, due to the positioning of the Dark Tower, the tower is where two Gulf streams meet, warm and cold air, which generally means that the whole area is frequently ravaged by fierce storms, lightning, and high winds and heavy rain. Nothing has been able to penetrate that for some time. We have sent off some messenger hawks, but sadly they have not returned. It is quite unnerving.
Just another question, please. In the event of my demise, for example, if I reach the island and we are sunk in the ship, for example, because I've not been on deep sea boats before, would you still pay for my time to get to the island? So maybe 2 to 3 weeks, and then I would be able to pass it on to my friends.
Your payment is transferable to your next of kin, but sorry, I have to have your agreement before we talk further as to whether or not you are prepared to accept the job. There is further information that I need to present to you, but it is important that it is kept a well-deserved secret, for it matters to the actual running of the order. Obviously, Gulliver, it is taken from you. Gentlemen, the rest of you.
Yes.
Gulliver's going. I shall go as well.
Yes, I will defer to Gulliver.
As Gulliver,
Myself too.
thank you, Bartleby. And she continues. She says, it is important that what we say from now on is kept in complete secrecy. Gulliver might have told you of this vessel before now. However, this might not be the case. The Order of the Krakens, have an ocean-going vessel called, rather appropriately, the Kraken. However, this is a very special vessel, for in its lower cargo decks there is, and please, this is to go no further, it is important that nobody knows about the Kraken at all. On its lower deck there is a portal that only high members of the Order are aware of. This means that even if we don't have access to certain portals due to them being damaged or corroded or eroded, we can take the Kraken and sail it closer to the place that we want to go, and then teleport straight to the portal on the lower decks of the Kraken. This will be how you will be arriving at the island. The ship has already set sailed and is luckily not far away from those areas, and it is sailing to that area at the moment.
So what you are saying is not really 2 to 3 weeks travel.
Unfortunately not, Mr. Hazra. It is somewhat instantaneous. But
Will we be going alone, or will somebody from the Order of the Lich be going with us? Maybe even Forbury, because I suppose that, well, the tower's going to have certain protections from intruders, which we're not going to know about.
she stands up from behind a table and she comes round to the front and sort of like leans back and almost like sits on the edge of the table. She doesn't take her legs up, she just sort of like leans. And she seems to be a little bit... Roll your insight, Gulliver, for me, please. Yeah, and you see that she's almost like changed her mindset from the beginning when she thought you couldn't give any good answers or questions or anything like that. She's almost like coming round to you and sort of like thinking, oh, actually, we've trained this person well. She says, I wanted to wait for Forbury to leave before sharing with you some other information. I have to put forward at this point that what I'm going to tell you is purely circumstantial rumours at this point. However, I feel it is... You need to be aware of this before we venture forward. The rumour is that Forbury's master, shall we say, discouraged him from his role. There is various rumours floating around, but all that we know is that Forbury came back to Lindo on a sailing boat, on a cargo ship, and has been lurking around Lindo for several weeks, maybe even months. We are not too sure. We have been watching him. However, the rumour is that his master kicked him out, maybe even reduced or disregarded his apprentice altogether. It might be that Forbury is currently masterless, which can make him extremely dangerous. It is interesting that when I asked him to accompany you, he quite simply said that he had other business to attend, and this has raised my suspicion even more.
What's the Order's position if Zodiac doesn't want us to make the portal active again?
Then the portal naturally can remain inactive. He doesn't have to open the portal. It's not a requirement. However, we are somewhat concerned about his safety. He actually is well known and has several very influential friends within the Order. It is interesting that we do not know why he is so influential. He definitely has many friends within his own Order and some outside his Order who are willing to do his bidding. It seems very strange that he has almost like cut himself off from the outside world.
From talking to Forbury, do we know whether or not there was anybody else on this in the tower, or
according to the
purely Zodiac?
Yeah. According to our sources, the tower was only occupied by Forbury and his master, Zoic.
So, if the portal has been covered intentionally, then chances are that Zoic doesn't want people using it.
And if that is the case,
return?
you will return. But as well as finding out why the portal is not working and the update of it, there are some other things that I would like you to find out. We are suspicious that there could be an underlying reason why Zoic has discommunicated his apprentice. We want to know whether or not those rumours are true. We want to know, has he deserted his master? Has he killed his master? And why is the portal inactive? And what has caused Forbury to come to us?
When was he? Is everything done through the portal? or do ships go there occasionally?
For the majority of the time, the portal is used. Occasionally, ships pass by with ingredients, reagents for Zoic and his sorcery, but generally it's just a rock. No indigenous life. Sorry, I just had to put that quote in there. Nobody knows what the quote is from.
No indigenous life. It's is it aliens?
It is. It's aliens. It's when she comes back at the beginning and she says there's these aliens, and she's the posh woman, the sort of like the councilwoman says, no, it's a rock.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a rock. No indigenous life form.
Did IQ suddenly drop when I was away?
Yeah.
That's right.
Terraformers have been there for some time. Yeah. Okay then. Yes, and Maud waits, expecting.
If the portal's been, if it's something magical that's affecting the portal, rather than just an obstruction.
If it is if it is not within your own skill to deal with it, then the Kraken will return to the island in 2 or 3 days to pick you up, and so you'll be able to port your way back here. If you do not know the portal spell yet, Gulliver, there is people on the Kraken who can actually support you with that.
From Gulliver's knowledge of the Order of the Kraken, he's been in the Order for sort of like a year now. So his knowledge of what happens in the Order of the Kraken and being an apprentice for so long and seeing other people sort of like going up and down ranks is what is being asked of him normal, if you see this type of thing normal.
Yeah, roll your Order of the Kraken. If you've got a skill in it, we might as well use it. Okay, portal maintenance is a regular role of the Order of the Kraken. They have to maintain the portals, mainly because if they didn't, then people would just rub them out or destroy them, which means that the whole purpose of the Order of the Kraken, the communication and teleportation, would actually falter and fall. And the Blue Order will naturally then become very limited in its ability to persuade and to engage with the different order members. That is quite set. It almost seems that the argument before might have had something to do with this, and almost like trying to convince Danielle to actually accept it, that it's an order business. I think there's 2 things going on here. Danielle wants you to check the order, the portal, but is also uneasy about the situation, and because Gulliver, you're going with your friends who are renowned adventurers. Normally if there was a situation like this, then they would send the blue robe and hire retainers or hirelings to go with you. If there was any thought of danger, generally they at least send somebody with a blue mage, blue sorcerer, unless that blue sorcerer is significantly powerful. For example, if they could shape change into a messenger bird, then they're not really needed to have a set of hirelings around them, because that would mean that they would be left as the blue mage flies away.
Gulliver wants to say to her, but he also wants to be watching her, sort of like to gauge whether or not she's telling the truth or not. But he wants to say, could I ask who recommended me for this task, so that I could thank them personally?
And she sort of like,
as far as he's concerned, this is sort of like more than what would normally be asked of an apprentice, going on the Kraken, and
she sort of like refers to further back in the conversation, and she says, it is about time, Gulliver, that you step up to your responsibilities within the Blue Order. There are responsibilities that you need to accept, and this is but one of them. You have
So she
been...
doesn't mention any names.
No, you have been leading quite a liberal lifestyle. But the Order should be, or is, important to you. And your rank and your attainment within the Order should be something of a celebration.
With that, Hazra will sort of turn to go and then turn back to Danielle and say, "My Lady Danielle, what do you owe Forbury, and why are you doing this for him?"
And she turns round to you and she just says, "Quite frankly, that is none of your business." She matches her steely blue eyes just lock with yours, and you suddenly feel your pendant underneath your jerkin get slightly warm as she stares at you, and it almost like the more she stares at you,
Will Robinson, danger.
Yeah, the more she stares at you and looks at you, the increased warmth of the pendant, and then she almost like smiles, tilts her head to one side, and looks at the rest of you and says, "So, the boat will be. I will contact you once the Kraken is in position, and then you can return here, and we will transport you there. It'll probably take 1 or 2 days. So please, do not leave Lindo."
Knowing that he's been outmatched in a sense, Hazra will just bow, but again he'll kind of try to mimic what Forbury did by keeping his head at the level of his body.
Roll a courtesy skill for me.
No.
Roll. Add intelligence and charisma together.
That's 2. No, it's not. That is going to be 19.
19.
No. Sorry. Yeah, 19. Yes.
No. 19.
19. I'm sure. D100.
Yeah.
6 in your face.
We don't know what difficulty it is yet.
Oh, no, shut up.
That's what I'm just calling up my table, because I have a table with all the dice rolls down, the skill scores, and then easy, very easy, standard, hard, formidable.
Because it's at least hard. Because
at least hard.
Mine's awesome.
What was your basic skill? Sorry.
It was 19.
19, and you scored. Yeah, you sort of like try to do it, but you don't pull it off. You either lean too far forward and you sort of like move forward and quickly prop yourself up with the stick, or you try to maintain eye contact with her and go cross-eyed or something like that, and she just sort of like smiles at you. And, as if to say,
burn twice.
Yeah. And she sort of like goes on and she sort of like gestures to the door and says, "I will be in touch in 1 or 2 days where the transportation, please do." Oh, and she reaches behind and to the other side of a desk and opens a drawer and brings out a pouch of silver pieces. There's, just so you know, you don't need to count them, she doesn't count them, but just so you know, out of game, well, within game, but so we don't want to, there's actually 200 silver pieces there. And she sort of like says, "Please use this to prepare if you need anything prior to leaving." And you leave Danielle's study and also the Order of the Kraken. As you walk out, you see some servants wiping blood off the corridor. down at the bottom where Dox was tripped over and got a nasty
Slipped.
slipped.
Grips on
Sorry.
the hem of his robe.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and you leave, and yeah, so you've got roughly about a day and a half. Is there any equipment you want to buy? Then you can buy that equipment via the rule book. Is there anything that any of you would like to do before you leave Lindo?
Yes.
Hire an army, then buy an army. 200 silver.
Bartleby, yes, Master Bartleby, Mr. Bartleby, what would you like to do?
As always, Bartleby wants to look into where we're going next. See if maybe he could go to the Church of Amriel and their libraries and see if they have anything on this. He also did want to make a purchase, just to be careful in case things go wrong, a fishing kit and some hooks, even though he probably can't use it very well.
Yeah,
Back up
that's
food
not
supply.
a problem at all. Roll your law history. I think you have a history skill, don't you?
I do. I was hoping to use that in this exact situation. Could I use a point of luck to reroll?
Yes, by all means.
There we go.
Excellent. Okay then, so you find out the following information about the landmark and the building. You don't necessarily find a lot of information about Zoic and the Black-Robed Musician or even Forbury. You find out information about the Dark Tower and the island itself. So what you find out is that this has been documented by sailors quite a way back in history. It's had a long existence. You know, even at the first sort of like historical record, the island Calamitous is recorded, and there's a sort of like a sketchy charcoal picture, and it literally there seems to be a sea stack that comes straight out of the sea, and perched on top, almost like extending it further, is a square tower. And there seems to be, in the picture, there seems to be no way of getting from the base to the tower. Does that make sense? It just looks like the artist hasn't drawn anything onto it. There's various, it's the history of it, and it says when it first was discovered. It doesn't say that it was ever abandoned, or the surveys of it says that it belongs to the Black Order, and and it keeps mentioning the current. It's currently in the ownership of the Black Order. It doesn't seem to mention many names until about 200 years ago, and it's then that the black wizard, the black sorcerer who lives on the Dark Tower in Calamitous, his name starts to be mentioned, and you notice that obviously they have been surveyed a little bit more, and there was a surveyor that went out, according to the books, went out to the tower, and it says after scrambling to the top, it says scrambling, it definitely says scrambling, I met the owner, a Zoic, Black-Robed Sorcerer, the master of the Dark Tower on Calamitous, and this was sort of like 200 years ago. And you notice that every year when the survey has done, you start to sort of like flick through, and that entry is almost identical, as if somebody's been copying it over and over and over and over and over and over again. There's never any talk of anybody else, just the Black-Robed Sorcerer called Zoic living there. Like I said, it started some 200 years ago. Whether or not that time frame is exact, you're not too sure, because books might have gone missing, but that's you think is the first record of it. You are aware that a lot of the times people pass names down through families, so whether or not it's only been recorded as a Zoic and it changed, or you are a bit suspicious since it's exactly the same entry, whether or not nobody actually went. They just kept replicating the same entry every single time. Important things that... the other thing that does come into it is that it talks about the areas in constant turmoil, a raging storm, high winds, rain, sleet, hail. It talks about it enveloping the island or hovering over it. And it seems to constantly refer to this, that it doesn't seem to be a fair weather place to go.
I have a clarifying question. So all these entries said that they scrambled up to the tower. Well, looking at my sad fishing pole, I don't think that's going to be as useful. Because it doesn't sound like you could fish off of that. But there's no other way. There's no mention of like ships coming in with the ingredients and like having an easy way to lift chests. It's scrambling up a wall.
Not at all. But you think that you're looking at the yearly survey. So there's probably other times that people might visit the island, but you're just looking at the yearly survey. A bit like the Doomsday, that every year they go out and sort of like record everything and so forth and so on.
Okay. That's all I need for that. I wanted to buy an additional thing, but I'm not sure if it's in the book. Just thinking of climbing up a wet, like rocky wall. Would there be any like chalk or some sort of powder that I could find in places to make it easier to climb? Something that's like slippery or...
I think we actually have...
Or maybe our alchemist friend might know something about chalk.
I think...
I don't want to have somebody slip into the ocean.
You can probably buy rope, and there's a grappling hook you can buy. So you can probably buy equipment to climb with.
I can see my...
oh, yeah, sorry, I remember that I
spirit.
needed to spend my skill points on climbing and swimming. That's what I wanted to spend them on.
No.
Water floats?
Back grappling.
In that case, Bartleby will go and get a grappling hook and rope if I still can. And
Yeah.
that's all I need to do.
That's
If
it.
we pass over that intelligence, then Hengist will also buy.
Yeah, so your hemp rope for
rope.
10 meters is 10 silver pieces, and your grappling hook's 5 silver pieces, and knock off another 2 or 3 for those things that you whack in. You're not too sure about how to use it.
Azra carries them around. He'll know.
Yeah.
It's a backup.
So
Carry
just
rope all the time.
just so you know,
do this.
climbing is based off your athletic skill. That's what you actually use to climb with. And just to let you know, depending on how easy or how difficult the climb is, it's assigned a value, and that value is then a fraction of your armor rating penalty, which I think it's under initiative. If you open up initiative, it says armor penalty, I think.
Yeah.
It's all changed, hasn't it? It's a
Yeah.
new sheet, isn't it?
So that's your armor penalty. So say for example, it was a really difficult climb. I might say to you, okay, then. So for a cliff is it would be like double the armor penalty, and you take that off your movement, and that would be how far you actually you climb. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes, that makes sense.
Yeah, so obviously, if therefore it's a treacherous climb, it might be 4 times your armor penalty reduced off your movement. If your movement ever gets to less, if it's reduced to 0 or less, you can't climb.
Which movement? Because on the character sheet, so we've got the walk, we've got run, sprint, climb, and the various types of climb.
It will.
No, on the new sheet, I've got movement rate of 6.
Yeah.
So I'm penalty of -2.
So yeah. So say for example, you will move at 4 meters.
Mm.
So that's how we're doing it. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just I was asking because it's got it split. So climb, there's a rough, and then it's got a number next to a rough, and then a steep, and then a sheer. So I don't know if you were using those or if we're using the normal walking distance. Speed.
That when that should be, that's actually your. I think
that's set up correctly. Then
yeah, if you
that's fine.
It should be if you open it, I think it tells you. Yeah, no, that's so that will have your armor penalty on, no matter what. Yeah,
because otherwise I'd be minus figures. I'll be going backwards.
Yeah, and it's a bit like sinking and drying.
Yeah, Hengist has just got next to his swim. It just says sink.
Yeah,
it hasn't got.
It won't actually happen at all. Just to let you know that it goes from rough and rugged to steep surface, sheer face. Okay, those are the steps that I think you've got there as well. So
can I just say something? No, when you see things like jump vertical 20,
yeah,
and you look next to see centimeters.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, so that's your climbing. So just to let you know, there would be a standard difficulty of the climb. So say for example, it's a standard climb, then having equipment might make it an easy climb, but not actually knowing how to use that equipment will take it back to a hard. So it could be a hard, it could be a standard, you don't have equipment, that's now made it a hard, you have no experience really of athletics, that could make it a formidable, and it's icy, that could make it a Herculean, and then slip plop plop plop, 4 people in the ocean. And
hi Hengist.
don't tie yourself to Hengist, he's a lead weight.
But Hengist can take his armor off.
Yeah, leave it at the bottom.
Naked Hengist.
No, he's going to put it in his backpack. His armor in the backpack.
And then you fall in the water. You fall in the water, you'll still sink because you got the
Then you can take the backpack off.
And lose his armor. So is there anything else? So people have got what they want to buy. Sorry, is there anything else?
Hashra wants to go to his brotherhood and he wants to ask, pretty much Mr. Because beat me to it, about exactly the same thing about this pinnacle of land raising up from the sea, called Calamatius.
Yeah. So
and he wants to see what the brotherhood do know.
Yeah, roll your passion for your brotherhood.
Certainly, if I can come off the right thing. I don't have a passion for my brotherhood, do I? I don't have a passion for my brotherhood. Why not?
But you've got excellent insight.
I do have good insight.
Okay,
I don't have a passion for my brotherhood.
Roll
That's
for
really
me,
bad.
please. That is dreadful. Roll for me, please, your locale, and it'll be roll it, and then I'll tell you whether or not. Okay then. So what you find out from asking various members, the chief of the Brotherhood is not around to talk to, but some of the initiates send you to one of the Brotherhood that is an expert on the oceans around Odessa. That's his sort of like main focus. So he's really focused on the bird life out there, the fish, etc., and also the different biomes in there. He knows of the island. You notice that. Just roll an insight roll for me.
Certainly. I'm glad I no, I didn't.
Yeah.
I'm going to use a point of luck just to re-roll that, please.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're nearly ending.
So you get the following information. He says, no indigenous life. It's a rock. No. he sort of like tells you that it's there's, apart from nesting birds, nothing actually lives there. It's quite inert, infertile, rather devoid of life. He doesn't know of anybody who's actually been there, and he's quite excited that you're going, because he asks you for a full report to be brought back. And then he starts to almost like list things. He says, so let me know about any nesting birds, any birds at all, including any birds that might have migratory paths over the island. And yeah, maybe take some mineral samples. Yeah, what is it actually made of? Is it porous? Algae. Maybe you could find some algae there as well. And what about animals as well as the birds? And he just sort of like keeps reeling these things off. and then at the end he says, did you get all that?
Yeah, so basically you need me to find anything about the island and bring it back.
Yes, most definitely. Oh, you have made a 64-year-old man rather excited that he's going to get this information.
Well, I'm glad that
I'm
going to get this information. So,
You will do very well, Hazrel, exciting old man. Thank you so much for your
I'm doing my best. So
your expertise.
I just want to help about the knowledge of our lands.
And he sort of like says, and just to let you know, I have a special position already open to be my apprentice. So play your cards right, and you could actually be my apprentice to do with everything about the ocean. Think of that, young lad. Think of that.
Sir, that is like, you are wonderful, sir. Thank you very much.
Yes. And remember, as much information as you can. I
certainly
really need to know. Yes. I wonder what will actually be on it, perhaps.
Well, do you think I should be taking something if I'm going up this pinnacle?
He's muttering to himself. I wonder if he has any birds there. And he's like, looks up and says, sorry, are you still here?
My apologies, sir. I will go. Thank you. I need to buy some equipment. So with that, Hazard will go.
I'm just assuming that you shared the information with everybody.
Oh gosh, yes, I will. Yes, yeah.
So everybody has this information now. Yeah.
Yes,
definitely.
Yeah. What Hazard would like to buy is a
hand glider.
Hand glider. A cannon.
I keep it in his man bag.
It's got rope already, but it's only 10 meters of rope he's got. So this is a lot bigger than 10 meters.
Could you attach it onto your 10-foot pole that you've got, and then 2 meters?
Could you tie it and launch your spear up at the top?
Well, what I was buying is like a grappling. I thought I had one actually, but I don't.
Grappling hooks, 5 silver pieces.
Yeah, I'll buy one of those. I'll also buy more rope. Just my theory is, if I can go up in stages, hook off the rope, get everybody to a certain point, lay them off, and then go up another 10 meters.
They want 10 iron spikes.
No, because once I settle you off in one place, I can move up more and tie it off again.
It's in Advanced Dungeons and Dragons in first edition. You always went down the dungeon with 12 iron spikes. I think they came in a group of 12
and a hammer.
Because when you opened the door, if you wanted the door to stay open, you spiked it.
That's right. That's why I have a door jam.
Have you only got one?
One door jam?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't call it a door jam. I call it a door jaw. Is that the same thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The little peg you put under the
I
door.
call it a door wedge.
Oh,
I call it a door
no.
wedge.
I thought you meant a door jamb, which is like the frame round the...
Why would we carry a frame around?
Those round with
What?
it.
I know, that's what I was trying to figure out.
Let me
I
take
just
a door
imagine...
jam with me. Hello, your door jam's a bit knackered. Let me put this one up there.
I imagine Hazra coming around with it, almost like a movable wedding area. That you can actually put...
Photos.
Yeah.
That'll be 1,000 silver pieces.
Yeah, right. So you've got things like if you bought climbing gear, then make sure you've
Yeah.
got it written down on your character. Make sure you deduct the money from it. I totally trust you to buy the things that you want. Bartleby probably restocks his candles, etc., etc. Anybody else would like to do any actions before we set sail?
I'd like to pay my living cost.
Do you want to do anything, Hengist?
No, Hengist will just mention to Alfred that he's going for, in a couple of days' time or a day and a half's time, he's going to be out of Lindo for a few days. So it might be an idea to cancel his tutor.
Yeah, and Alfred says
and make appropriate arrangements for sort of like keeping any post or make up a suitable sort of
Alfred.
reason why he's not around for party
yes.
invitations and that sort of thing.
Of course, your lordship. Just to say, when you were out, this arrived for you.
Oh, thank you, Alfred. And then Hengist will take whatever it is that is being passed.
It was a donkey.
It was an elephant.
Hengist has always wanted an elephant.
Hengist throws one last house party. It just seems to be a smaller piece of parchment that is folded up and sealed at the moment.
Hengist will turn it over to look to see what
It's
the
from
seal a picture.
Yeah, it's the seal of House Galot.
Okay. Hengist will say thank you. I will have a look at this later.
Yeah.
She likes to move it.
Okay, and when are you going to?
Hengist will open it when he next sees Gulliver or Bartleby.
Okay then.
So whenever we're next in the
yeah, so we'll move there.
tavern or something.
Gulliver, is there anything that you would like to do?
So the first bit, I don't know how much information that it's going to be about, but I presume that there's going to be a fair bit. The order must keep. Does it keep information about where the portals are, etc.?
Of course.
And when they were last. Does it give any more specifics, or is it there's this portal in a tower, or does it say it's on the 4th floor of the? Because I mean, mages are normally sort of like sorcerers are normally sort of like pretty specific. So
within the Order of the Kraken, there is exact locations, exact sizes, exact locations where they are. So if they're in a building on a set floor, it will actually give that information, and that's all part of the summoning process.
Okay, so can I find out one whereabouts within the tower is the portal located? More importantly, when the portal was actually put in, and was it put in at the same time as the tower was there, or was the tower there before it was put in?
Yeah, well, currently, because of your rank in the order, that you do not have access to that information.
I approach Daniel Duncan to see whether or not I could whether or not she could have a word with somebody to get me that information?
Right, so you're going to go back to Daniel Duncan. So you go back to her door and you sort of like knock on her door, and she sort of like says, "Come in."
And so Gulliver will go in, and
she says, "We're not ready for you yet, Gulliver."
I've been thinking of the task that you gave me, and I thought it might be advantageous if I knew a bit more about the portal location, but I don't have enough. I'm not high enough in the order to get the information I needed. I wondered whether or not
she looks out at the sun and says, "Be quick with your questions. I have a meeting."
I wondered whether or not you could find out for me whereabouts in the tower the portal is.
what sort of information are you expecting to have? Do you want detailed measurements, Gulliver?
No, I just thought it might be interesting. For example, if it was on the top floor and maybe it's caved in, that would give us an indication of why maybe it was blocked if part of the roof is caved in and gone on it.
Are you trying to solve this job without actually going to the tower?
No, but you've always trained me to get about as much information on the
Fair
situation.
enough, Gulliver. We will do half of your work for you. As everybody of a suitable rank knows, that the tower is the portal within the Dark Tower is on the ground floor.
Thank you. I think that's all I needed.
And Gulliver, as you turn to leave, she says, maybe you need to take more care and develop more passion for the actual order. It's about time that you were rising up the ranks and casting your own portal spell. We are not here to take the workload off you. And she doesn't wait for an answer. She just goes back to writing on her parchment.
Gulliver's going to go out, and the next thing I want to do, I want to go and see whether or not the wave crest is in dock. I'll tell you what I want to do, and then you can work out how to do it. So, from the information that we've got, this dude, whatever he was called, I'll tell you when I find it, Forbury, was probably picked up by a ship and brought back. He didn't come back via the portal, did he? From the information that he gave us.
From the information you have, no.
So the information that you gave us that he didn't come back by portal. He was he was brought back by ship, which then probably docked in Lindo. Now, if that ship had come in, and you know what sailors are like, she's sort of talking about it, picking somebody up, especially a black-robed sorcerer from that particular location and bringing them back, they might have talked about it in the taverns, and it's something that a normal sailor wouldn't do. So I want to go and see whether or not the wave crest is in, to see whether or not Captain Seatide or any of his men had heard anything in the taverns.
So are you just trying to collaborate that part of the story?
I want to see whether or not there was any more information about it,
Okay.
or
So
if they picked him up and he was half dead of hunger, or
Okay then. Roll your do you have a passion for Captain Seatide, or a skill connected to that contact, or not?
No.
No. Okay then. So roll your.
What we normally do, we normally roll to see whether or not he's in port.
Yeah, I'm quite happy for him to be in port. So roll your influence skill to get some answers to your questions.
I got a 30.
Yeah, and as you previously said about what you were saying to me, just as you've said, the people do remember the black-robed magician, the sorcerer appearing on the docks, coming on a boat, and some people on the boat remember it. And as you said at the beginning, they talked in taverns and things like that, and exchanged talks. As for whether or not he was hungry or thirsty or anything like that, they don't mention anything in that. It's almost like there's a lot of people saying that many sailors were uncomfortable, but he was picked up and travelled on the boat to Lindo, and then quickly he didn't spend a lot of time down in the harbour or anything like that.
Okay, so right, yeah, that's
Cool.
the only information.
Okay then, so you all meet together and you exchange your information, etc., and you then get a summons to Danielle once again, and that it's time for you to leave, and she summons you, and sort of like reminds you of the important parts of the what you really have to find out, if you remember. And this idea of being aware that it's you need to find out what's stopping the portal, but you also need to find out what's happening. And you should be able to see on did I move you across? Yeah, you should be able to see the deck of the ship.
It's all black for me at the moment.
Just
gotta go down.
It's right the way down.
Just to zoom out.
can I make a willpower check if we're going through a portal, please?
Yeah, go for it.
If he fails it, can I get ready to knock him out? I'm joking.
Yeah.
It's oh no, I failed it. So that's fine.
Yeah. So you port in, and as you can
Fine, but fine.
as you can see from you definitely you step through the portal and you come out on the opposite side, and immediately you feel that you're actually in the ship. You're definitely in the ship, and the ship is actually rocking quite violently. It's tilting and it's going up and down, and you can see that there's 4 sets of stairs. Can you see the 4 sets of stairs? They're all going up, and you actually on the floor there's a bit of water etc on it, and you figure you're in the bottom of the in the boat, and the portal is there. Could you do one thing for me, please? Could you roll your endurance rolls?
Thank you. Yeah.
Your DC is hard for this.
As when he comes through, we'll be shaking.
Oh, look at Balderby pulling the crit!
Hengist will use his point of luck to
No, there's still 3 minutes that something could happen.
Okay then.
Oh my! I'm not re-rolling mine. I failed.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not going to.
Azra comes through.
So
Azra is shaking like a leaf.
Hengist,
He just like this anyway. He's on the floor. He's like, ugh.
Hengist succeeds. Gulliver fails, Bartleby succeeds, and Hazra fails. So the first thing that you notice is that the rocking of the boat. Hazra, this is probably really in your character, because all of a sudden you find yourself enclosed in the bottom of a boat that is rocking backwards. Rocking backwards and forwards. And Bartleby, you're sort of like, you gain your sea legs as quickly as possible. You know, nothing bothers the Bartleby. You know, decaying bodies, rocking ship, and you almost like start to go with the flow of it. And instead of, Gulliver and Hazra are going against the rock of the boat and making it even worse. And Gulliver and Hazra, you suddenly feel extremely ill. Okay, you're not vomiting yet, but you think it's probably on the cards. Just to let you know that, please remember that I'm just going to put a little, you'll remember. All your rolls at the moment, no matter what it is, will increase 1 level of difficulty. Okay, so no matter what it is, it will go at 1 level of difficulty while you're rocking. However, as if you've got that too much to cope with, you can hear the sound of battle up above you. There seems to be cries of watch out, watch out, and there seems to be sort of like squawks. There seems to be clanging of metal. What would you all like to do?
Hengist will make his way up as quick as he can with his hand on his sword hilt.
Okay.
Azra's still in a fetal position. He's just come through a portal which he does not like.
Not at all.
And to be thrown into this rocking of backwards and forwards in like an enclosed box. He's still there. He's got his spear and he's just rocking, and that is where he is at the moment.
Okay.
Has he got his spear though?
I do.
Okay,
I have a spirit.
Gulliver, what is your plan?
Gulliver's going to, depending on which way the boat goes, but he's going to try to scramble to the side and see whether or not he can grab hold of something.
So you're staying on the underdeck, or you're going up on top?
No, depending on which way he goes when as it's moving backwards or forwards. So if it goes down to the left, he'll probably try to get down onto. I don't have control of my character, so he'll either get onto this wall where it is now, or the bottom roll, depending on the roll of the ship. And he wants to try to grab hold of the side and then maybe move along the side, using it to hold himself up and not slip on the wet floor.
Okay then. You're staying down at the bottom though?
No, I want to move along the side of the ship to try to get out, but the exit that I'm going to come out will be depending on the boat movement, if you see that.
Got ya. So
if for example it's tilted down to the bottom here, that's, or if it's going up to here, and then but if it's tilting forward or if it's tilting back, so it's just going to be random which way I come out.
Okay,
it's
then.
not going to be set. It's going to be depending on the movement of the boat.
Yeah,
because I haven't got my sea leg, so I'll be moving with it, if you see what I mean.
And Bartleby, what would you like to do? Are you staying down at the bottom, or are you going up on top?
Staying down the bottom, seeing Hazra's collapsed, Bartleby would go over there to either give a calm or a heal.
Fantastic. So I'm just going to reveal the top deck of the boat for the people. You'll all be able to see it, but obviously some of you will have to sort of like role play better. So can you see Gulliver and Hengist? You're at the top now. Just to let you know, and I'll just do this like that. Can you see that?
You need to scroll up.
Yeah.
So what this top bit is sort of like at the front and the back, so it goes up onto the poop decks. So you're sort of like, so there's these ladders here, where sorry, my ping's out.
These steps.
Yeah, those go up onto here.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then these go up again. So you're on the bottom deck, but there's two more decks on either side. And when you get up to the top, you suddenly become aware of what the rumpus is all about. You notice that it's very windy. There's rain lashing down left, right, and centre. And the combat, the sailors appear to be fighting things as they fly around. And as they come out, there's about 6 of them circling round the boat. And one sort of like swoops down and sort of like knocks a sailor down. And somebody else goes with it as a spear, and it just sort of like back flaps and sort of like takes it off. And you notice that these are monsters that you've seen before or have recognized before, and they're sort of like part woman, part birds. And you know them from legend. There's about 6 harpies harassing and trying to take a member of the crew off to be not only it's their lunch, but probably their victim as well. And that will be a perfect place to leave it for this week. So you're well on your way to towards the island, well on your way to find the to see what is going on the island, and to see why maybe a black-robed apprentice has deserted his master. And yeah, we'll pick that up. So next time we'll come straight down to Hazra and Hengist. Okay, that's where we'll start. Hengist, Hazra,
I want to go home.
yeah, Hazra rocking backwards and forwards, being very ill, and brother, I think we should call you Brother Bartleby. One of my friends who are dead now used to have a monk called Brother Benjamin. I used to love that monk's name, but I think Brother Bartleby would be a fantastic one. Yeah, so that's where we will start it, and then we'll go up on top to see what is happening on there. Okay, well done, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that adventure, and I hope if you watched it that you have enjoyed it as well. Just to remind everybody, on the 25th of April, we have somebody else who wants to come and experience Mythras. So they're going to make up a character and come in. It might just be for one-off, or it might be somebody, they're from America, so they're having to get in and then do it. They might have to leave early because they've got another game afterwards. So it might be sort of like in and out, but I'll try to weave it into the story, so you can see it. And then if he departs at the end, then that will be it. But
so not that Mr. Pickles gives his entire week to this game.
Yeah, it does. And I'm really worried because I'm trying to think how I can rearrange the windows on my overlay, because it works well with me at the top of you, so I've got to find 3 or something like that. So I'm wondering whether or not
top right hand side and then moving Mythras to the left hand side.
Yeah, well, what on this small one where the dice roll is, I'm going to put the dice roll up to the left and get rid of the
the huge white box.
Yeah, and put that inside. So that's what I'm going to do. And this one, I think above Gulliver, I'll just put another box and move things around. So so that'll be it. So so well done. You have arrived at the island. You're currently on the Kraken and about to start the next adventure. So well done. Lots of experience rolls done. A lot of combat prowess. I've got please remember that I'm fully implementing my specials now. So I just want...
It's a Kraken.
It's a Kraken. Well, I'm sure harpies can grip. So if they have a special, then there's grip onto your hand or onto your arm. And then... Come back!
Bye, guys!
I can see my house from here!
Yeah, just make sure there's no small people on the top.
If I don't get dropped into the ocean, you'll probably find me on the island.
Yes. So
if you don't see me through it, we can see me through water.
Brilliant. So has anybody got any announcements that they want to make?
Yes. Book of the week. Merry Gentle Grunts.
Grunts.
I read it in the 80s. Very good film. Orcs with machine guns in a fantasy setting. 3-dimensional settings. And it's for the bad guys become the good guys and the good guys become bad guys. Bye.
Excellent. I love it. I love bad guys. They're my favourite group. Any other announcements that you want to make?
No, mate.
Nope.
Fantastic. Darth says Night Hazra sounds good.
It's just very good book. I recommend it all day long.
Stick the link in the Discord.
I will. I'll find a link for the book.
Brilliant. Okay then, so we will be back next Saturday. I will be back streaming tomorrow 2:00 BST time, so do come back for that. And then in the evening some Overwatch, so come back and enjoy that as well. Until then, can I please remind you all please to stay at home, social distancing, so 2 meters apart please, and wash your hands. And please remember the most important thing, to be who you are and say what you think, because the people who mind don't matter. And the people who matter don't mind. Have fun, everyone, and we will see you next week for some harpy action. See you all later. Bye.
Bye. Blink. Thank you, Postman.
Thank you, Postman.
This video is sponsored by the Design Mechanism, the makers of Mythras. Mythras is a registered trademark of the Design Mechanism Inc., used with permission. All rights reserved.